Hello there. What's going on, X-Wing fans? What's going on, everybody? We are getting ready to kick off another stream. We are going to be watching along as AMG does their X-Wing 101 stream today. And I am going to be seeing if they have any spoilers. Maybe we'll get some more X-Wing spoilers. Maybe they'll talk a little bit more about future things. I think they've spoiled most of the Squadron Pack stuff by now. I'm gonna have to go back through all the spoilers after the fact, and really see, put everything together. I think I'll be working on videos. There's been some spoilers for all of the different games. A lot of Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff spoiled earlier today, and we had a new huge ship spoiled for X-Wing. We had this beautiful thing spoiled. So that much is really cool. I need to share this out on social media. Let me share this link out a little bit with everybody, so we can do. There we go. So I'm going to do that. Hopefully you guys are having a good weekend, enjoying yourselves so far. I had to go wash the cars today and went for a little run, trying to stay healthy. And a real short run, but took one of the kids around and did some other good things. But man, so much pollen is killing me. It is. Alright, we've got that. And then we're going to share on Facebook. I don't share stuff to Instagram. I do pictures on Instagram. I've been doing some pictures of Street Fighter, the miniatures game, on lately on Instagram. So that one is fun. Let's see. Where's the share button? Oh my goodness. Alright, it's right there. Where's the button? Where's the button? I see it. What is going on? I'm missing a button. The button's got, there it is. I found it. Found the button. Alright, so yeah, we had some interesting stuff. So if you guys haven't been paying attention to X-Wing already, we also got the Razor Crest spoiled, loosely teased, I guess is probably a more appropriate term, because they really didn't give us very much for this other than just this piece. They didn't say a word about it other than really it's going to be a while. It's much easier to get art done than to get a whole ship designed. So I think if I was a betting man, I might bet that they had commissioned some art prior to the FFG AMG takeover, kind of, or like that transition. And I don't think they have an X-Wing developer yet, or Armada. I think the only developers right now that they have are Marvel Crisis Protocol developers and Legion developer. I don't think they have developers for either X-Wing or Armada on their team yet. So I think it's going to be a long time. Now, granted, there may be some stuff going on that I don't know about. But they had Plummer on, who I believe was part of the original AMG team, who came over from Privateer Press. I don't think, they didn't introduce him as an X-Wing developer or an Armada developer. They just said he's a developer here at AMG, and we're like, okay, what game is he working on? Because this was the other day during their X-Wing and Armada streams, so I don't think they have like a dedicated X-Wing developer right now. So it makes me kind of wonder if that's I think the holdup. It was nice that they certainly spoiled the Razor Crest, though. It's kind of a good kind of sign that they do certainly plan to keep this game going. I think maybe they were just having some, who knows, maybe there's just some slowdown with hiring people. Maybe that's an issue. Maybe hiring people is a little bit complicated at the moment. That could be. So anyway, what are you guys hoping from today's stream? It looks like they're going to be opening up 2 of these packs and kind of doing like a little battle report with like a learning focus. I think is that's probably a good way to kind of frame this stream. There may be some. If there's anything they haven't spoiled yet, I think that they will spoil that. If you guys are just tuning in, we are going to be transitioning over to the AMG stream once they start up. And also, if you guys are fans of Legion, we are going to also be doing a stream for that in about 2 hours or so. So after this stream is over, we'll take a little break. We'll come back for the Legion stream later tonight. So that's going to be kicking off. I've got my tea. Stardad. If you're a Star Wars fan and you have kids, they might get you something like this for Father's Day. Stardad. But yes, you just binge watched the first season of The Mandalorian, and it is so good. It is so good. I think you will also like the second season. You might want to watch that. You might want to. So yes. So anyway, let's see what else is new. We did get the awesome Squid Trident class assault ship pair spoiled. Was it yesterday or the day before? I think this was Friday. No, it may have been Thursday. I think this was spoiled on this was spoiled on Thursday. The days are kind of bleeding into each other a little bit, but there's been a lot of streams, a lot of things to watch, a lot of things to take notes on, a lot of screenshots to grab. And of course, they spoiled some more of the pilots. They put up an article about Darth Vader. I don't think that Darth Vader is going to be news to most people who follow X-Wing news, right? I don't think that's going to be a big surprise to anybody. This could be a very cool looking flotilla for Armada. You guys are right. This was one of those ships that I think a lot of people weren't necessarily expecting to show up on our tabletops just because of its interesting nature. If you guys aren't familiar with this ship, this was from I think season 3 of the Clone Wars, or is it season 1? When they basically Grievous attacks Kamino, the ship's and he attacks and he loses really, really bad, and they're like, wow, that was why would he attack a fortified position and just lose? And his ships are crashing into the sea of Kamino. But what happens is that was part of his plan, and then once they're underneath the sea, they kind of reassemble into these kind of things, and then these things swim up and then attack attack the ground buildings. So because he didn't think the Republic would be firing on falling debris. Well, they were disguised as debris.
It was not really debris, it was a brilliant strategy implemented by General Grievous. However, now, I will take the battle cruiser online from StarCraft.
I don't know. But the Clone Wars movie had this shit. Oh, I gotta go watch that's one of those things that I watched one time and never wanted to watch again. Battle of Kamino is the second episode of season 3. Okay, good deal. It's a little tougher to remember exactly where everything is because of the fact that the first 3 seasons were so out of order. And that's an interesting thing about Clone Wars too, because they did all of it. For the first season, he was just from what I understand, George was I'm just gonna be able to make one season of this show, but I want to tell, 8 to 10 stories that happened during the Clone Wars. And then he's like, oh, we got another season. All right, let me tell 10 more stories. And then once he realized, okay, this is a hit, let's just do this chronologically. So then he filled in all the gaps, starting with season 3. And then so eventually it kind of catches up and then goes chronologically. But man, the first couple seasons are painful to watch if you don't know that they're going to be out of order already. I watched Clone Wars all the way through the first time and was just nauseated. I hated it because I will be a stickler for one little detail, and it was wait a second, why are these out of order? That's stupid. I don't like this show anymore. Now, but knowing the history as to why it's out of order actually makes a lot of sense. Makes it less stupid. Although I really wish Disney. I just had a button when you are if you're watching it on Disney Plus, you should just say play chronologically, and then call it a day. That's how it should be, George also wanted to save some of the larger scale stories for when they could increase the budget.
Oh, very good. That makes sense. I don't know. Maybe. I don't understand why George Lucas wouldn't have the budget for a show. I mean, he made Star Wars one of the biggest things in the world.
I don't know. And now I'm just doing nonsense voices. So we've got about 12 minutes until this stream kicks off. For you guys watching right now, what's going to happen is we are going to switch over. We'll switch over to AMG stream, and wait a second. Most recent video. Oh, all right. I'm about to say coming up next is not that. yeah, so we'll just switch over. I'll turn my mic off, and that's how that will go. Very cool stuff. All right. Also, I want to do a shout out to today's sponsor, Luxury Playstyle. If you guys haven't already, check out luxuryplaystyle.com. They have X-Wing tokens. They have tokens for other games as well. You're going to get a free Crabbok token with lightsaber nunchucks for any order of $35 or more while supplies last. Also, if you use my code, you're going to save 15%. So definitely use that code. It saves you 15% and gets you a free coin. I love the Crabbok coin, honestly, because I use it in a lot of different games. I use Luxury Playstyle stuff in my Legion games as well. And I worked with them to design this coin specifically to work in any game. Like the C works really well in X-Wing to mark critical hits. You don't usually need to mark a whole lot of ships with critical hits, but so it can be used for that. If you make, multiple orders too, then you can have multiple C tokens. But also it's useful in if they ever get around to doing Armada tokens. You can mark your flagship there. If you can say your commander is here. You can also use them to mark damage. And usually you use damage cards for most games, but Legion, I use their Keyforge damage tokens, which are double-sided for 1 and 3. You've got a 5 on the back of the C token, which is good for those high health units since we're seeing more tanks in Legion. So I really find it helpful to have a 5 token, so you don't just have these stacks of tokens for damage. So I really like that. And any game that's going to be tracking lots of damage, it's nice to have a 5 around for like those really big health units. Plus you've got shield tokens, force tokens, charge tokens, evade, focus, concentrate. Very cool stuff. But check them out. Use that code Crabbok VIP. I really like their product. It's good stuff. And once you're playing again in person, you're really going to impress somebody on the other side of the table. All right, so what else are we going to see? I don't know if they're going to talk any more about the Razor Crest today. What Armada news do you want to see? Well, they're not doing any more Armada news. I want to see them. So realistically, if they don't have an X-Wing or an Armada developer, I guess that's the first thing that I'd like to see is like, hey, we've brought these people on board. Ideally, in a perfect world, I'd like for them to bring back existing developers. Some names that we're familiar with, people who have a history with the game, like Max Brook or Alex Davey or Frank Brooks, all people that worked on X-Wing or in the case of Armada, Brooks Fluger-Levitt or Michael Gurnis. People who have worked on these games. And Brooks Fluger-Levitt worked on X-Wing too. Actually, honestly, Brooks would be a really, really good person to bring on board. So, I hope they can figure that out and come to a deal or something like that. But, that would be like the best case scenario for the future of these games. But, that's like the first step. If in the absence of that, I would love for them to bring in, someone who maybe we're familiar with, that we have some trust and stuff with. There's lots of people who've been very, very involved in the community. That I think would be good hires and stuff. So somebody maybe who has a history of whether it's playtest or game design or rules. Somebody good with rules might be a good choice too. Rather than what I would hope was that they don't necessarily bring in somebody to be the lead who has no experience with either of these games. That would be the worst case scenario. I don't mind if bringing in new developers. Michael Plummer was a gamer from Orlando. Glad to see he moved out. Is he from Orlando? I did not know that Michael Plummer was from Orlando. That's awesome. Rock and roll, Michael Plummer. I don't know if Michael Plummer is working on either one of these games, though. And that's one of the things that's a little bit worrisome is like who's going to be working on these games. Are we going to see like this huge like left turn in terms of game balance and design? That's one of the things that I kind of wonder about. So that's the first step. But like once they bring somebody on board, then there's like this whole process of design and development, a whole lot of internal and licensing and art and all this other stuff. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen before we even get to a point of play testing. That goes through a long-term process. And then eventually you get to a point where you are ready to begin production of stuff and manufacturing, and then you also after that you get to a point where you can actually be like, okay, we have some leaks, some spoilers to show you guys. This is what's coming. So I feel like we're like 2 years out if they haven't even hired somebody yet, from getting new product. So in the interim, the things that I think would be helpful is to do some acrylic bases and stands for both X-Wing and Armada. I think that would be a great way to get some new product out there and for us to like spice up our fleets a little bit. I realize that that's just decorative, but the good news about that is it doesn't really take game development time. And since in the absence of game developers, that's a really easy product to be able to push out. And then similar things like that. And also organized play is another thing that they can work on. I'm not as over this past year, I'm not really, in the absence of tournaments and stuff, I'm not really sure how much they're going to do with that. I do occasional tournaments. A lot of times I just do more casual tournaments as opposed to like the bigger tournaments. I think when you start talking about like worlds and stuff like that, you're really only addressing a fraction of the player base, because you're only looking at like the players that can travel to across the country or globe for tournaments, and then B, people who do well enough amongst those. So it's a small subset that you're starting with, and an even smaller subset after that. So I don't know if that's really that important right now, although it is kind of cool because everybody can watch at home too, if you're into that. But I think organized play, at least in the like store championship kind of levels, will hit a lot of players. Or just game night kits and things like that would be another thing that they can do, alternate arts and promos and things like that. And once they do start getting people online, one of the first things they could do is like card packs for these games. The card packs with just a handful of upgrades. They don't have to do quite as much playtesting when you're looking at maybe like a very small release. I know campaigns are one of those things that Armada's been doing. X-Wing could potentially be looking at something like that. We do know that there's supposed to be another X-Wing ship that they were talking about when they revealed this thing. They said this was one of two that Gavin was really trying to get into the game. A lot of people are saying, well, there must be a Republic one now. Maybe the Republic one is the next thing that's coming, and what's that going to be? I wonder if they'll give us any hints on that in today's stream. But the other thing that is about today's stream is it's all going to be mostly focused on the basics of X-Wing, like new players. If you don't know that much about X-Wing, this is a great stream to stick around and learn a little bit about. So that much is also pretty cool. Also, if you guys are here, check out Discord. We've been doing some giveaways, and there's like, I think 3 or 4 of them that are up right now in the Discord channel. There's a link in the description below. My Discord is a family-friendly, casual, and competitive focused Discord that is, very... I got 3 different communities for X-Wing, Armada, and Legion, as well as other board gaming and other stuff like that. So we kind of cater to whatever your flavor is. But there's also a giveaways channel in there. All you have to do is react to one of the current giveaways with the double critical emoji, and I will be announcing winners for that stuff on Sunday. Yes, Sunday. So that is cool. My wife's like, Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Yeah, but yeah. So that is going to be going on. We're going to also be announcing, I think in the later tonight, I'll be announcing the Patreon winner for the Armada upgrade card collection. So that will be announced later this evening. And so that was good. I also had, if you guys were following me for a while, I had announced the winner of the Ahsoka Tano in a previous stream, but they were not. It was actually TC who was in live chat for one of the first streams that has not responded and claimed this yet. I'm going to hold it for 30 days, but this will go back up if it's unclaimed. So TC, if you are still watching, I did put it in the comments that you won. That one was a tough one, though, because the stream kind of cut out before I could announce the winner, and so I had to type it. And so sometimes, people will enter and not stick around to the end, and that sort of thing happens sometimes. Not much I can really do about that. But I know that some people who still play Imperial Assault, I've heard that Ahsoka is a little bit hard to come by. So let's see. Any chance of a return of Double Critical podcast in some way, shape, or form. Yes, that is on that's on the agenda. That's definitely something I'm looking at starting up again. I've been kind of mulling over ideas though, because I don't know exactly the format. There's probably going to be some changes with Double Critical, but one of the changes that I want to do is I want it to be focused on all games and not just a specific one. So yeah. You think the Razor Crest will be in Armada? I think it could. I don't know where it fits, because I don't think Armada needs like a scum and villainy faction. So I think the Razor Crest would probably be Rebel, right? Like certainly not Imperial, right? So that means I think it would have to fall on the Rebel side of the house. But at the same time, I think if you're going to do that, we need some other things, like to go with it in a pack of like a Rogues and Villains Part 2. Although in which case we could do a 4-faction Rogues and Villains pack. That could be a thing. How long till they stream? It should be starting any minute now. We have well, I mean we're at the standby. We are ready for them to start. What are they doing? We are waiting. They are not live yet. So once they go live, we'll start. But they are not ready yet. That's okay. We can be flexible. We'll be flexible. And that's one of the good things about hanging out here. We are ready to go. You won't miss a thing. I think you will be all right. Because once they start it up, then we will be following them. They're going to be starting soon. How are you guys all doing today, by the way? Hopefully you guys are all having a fantastic weekend. We are getting ready to... Hey, everybody in chat. Did you see the Wookiee model? Bleed Green Productions asks. Yes, I did see the Wookiee model. I didn't watch that whole stream, but it's, is obviously higher quality, but looks, for the most part, like the Wookiees that we expected them to look like. So I wasn't super surprised. It was about exactly what we would have probably expected. Excited and wanting to play in person again. I'm really excited to play in person with huge ships, especially if each faction is going to potentially have 2 huge ships. I would love to get some crazy scum versus rebel double huge ship action going on. I think that could be really fun. That could be fun and wild. I like epic play. I think epic play is something really, really fun to do in person. Especially with the fly casual. Like fly casual is a really cool thing. But yes, and the Razor Crest was confirmed. That's true. But fly casual doesn't have the epic format stuff. So I'm gonna just check on AMG's Twitter and see if they are having some kind of problem, if they posted anything, because they are still not live yet. And I was just curious if it was just me or not. Nope, they are still not. They're still not with us. They are still not with us. So yeah, that's strange. They are offline. They are offline. What are they thinking? All right, let's just switch over. There it goes. It's just a black screen right now. But I don't know. Maybe they're having technical difficulties. I mean, I think this was a stream that was going to be very different from what they normally do. Because for one, if they're going to be playing a game, it sounds like they were going to crack open 2 of the squadron packs and kind of go over how to play. Sounds to me like you might have 2 people for that. So are they? But they've all been streaming from home. So maybe this is an all new location. Maybe they're doing it on Tabletop Simulator, which I would be really surprised if they did it on Tabletop Simulator. That would be something else, right? Let me know what you guys think. I don't know why this isn't going yet, but as soon as it does, we'll kick it. I'm in kind of an awkward mode right now where I feel like I'm hosting a show and like the main act like never came out, like you would see on old sitcoms, and somebody comes out and hands me a microphone. It's like, stall them. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, just stall them. I'm like, well, in this case, I'm prepared because we can talk about Star Wars all day long. So I'll continue. I'll continue to do that. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing. But I'm checking on their Twitter, and I'll check on their Facebook too, see if they had anything to post. If you guys, oh, here we go. They're getting ready. Now they're gonna start. Okay. Oh wait, they're almost ready. I just heard something. It changed over to please stand by. So that's good. We're almost there. Can you juggle? I cannot juggle. I can drink tea though. Thoughts on Vader being 115 points? Good. I think he's gonna be glorious. Let's switch over.
Hello and welcome to X-Wing 101. Today we're going to be discussing a little bit about the new squadron packs that are coming out for X-Wing. Joining me is Michael Plummer from the development team. I am John Schaefer. I work as the marketing manager for our Star Wars games. And today in Everett, we've got a pair of individuals that have set up a couple of lists with the new Skystrike Academy and the Phoenix Cell squadron packs.
I'll go ahead and go first.
We have kind of chosen just a couple just basic squads that we have kind of set up for these two players. They're both kind of novice players. They haven't really gotten a lot of games of X-Wing in under their belt, so to speak. So we just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about X-Wing as a game, what makes it super cool, really exciting, and what has made it so popular over all of these years, and kind of discuss some of the pilots that we have involved here, and also some of the upgrades that we have associated as well. So, Michael, anything you wanted to say about X-Wing before we get started?
Yeah, I mean, X-Wing is a really great game. I think it's a really great game to be, your first miniatures game or another miniatures game that you pick up, especially when you play so many. It's pre-painted miniatures, which is fantastic. Myself, I'm a play it painted stickler, so I won't play with any miniatures that aren't painted. So for me, it's really great to have a game where I can open the box, take the miniature out, assemble it, and just put it right on the table and start playing. I really love that about X-Wing.
Yeah, me too. It's for me, like the most exciting part about X-Wing is just like the bluffing and the guessing game that's associated with it for players that have never played a game of X-Wing before. So we can kind of see the players that are utilizing these maneuver templates to move their ships, but there's also those kind of circular dials that are next to the ships as well. And what those do is they allow the player to secretly dial in how their ship is going to move on their turn, and then they commit for the turn, and then their opponent does the same thing. So, and then all those things are revealed in an order, which is dictated by the initiative order that we have on each of the ship cards here. So we see.
Oh, it looks like they cut out. I don't know. All right, they're back in.
Ships cards here.
Straight threes, all the way through. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Also, the order in which they shoot. So. That's like one of the most exciting components of the overall process is just trying to guess what your opponent's going to do and trying to outmaneuver them and outguess what they have going on.
Hidden information is one of my favorite mechanics in a game, and I think that X-Wing handles it really well. It does it in a really elegant way. During the planning phase, you have to decide what the maneuvers are going to be for all of your ships and put them down hidden. So, there's that planning stuff that I really like, and then on top of that, you don't know what your opponent's doing either, so you kind of have to outthink them and
I don't want to do any of my stuff.
Kind of, think through their strategy as well as your own. So it's a really deep thought game if you want to go super deep on it, and I like that. But it's also really simple to play. So if you want to just throw it on the table and have some snacks and have a good time, you can just play a quick game and not be too fussy with it.
Yeah, most definitely. So let's talk a little bit about the list the players are playing today. So because they are new players and we didn't want to overwhelm them with a lot of choices and a lot of different options, we gave them pretty much two bare bones lists. We've got on the Empire side, we have got Captain Dobbs in the Defender. That's a very kind of defensive kind of craft that we have. You can shoot here if you want. We also have Sienna Ray, who is a interceptor pilot who has a very high initiative value that can kind of shoot first and move last. She has kind of a potentially beneficial and detrimental effect associated with her as well. And we also have Gideon Hask, who is pretty much a straightforward finisher type who really wants to kind of prey upon the enemies. Kind of like locate and hunt down those enemy ships that have already been damaged in the round.
Yeah, and then over on the Rebel side, we've got Hera Syndulla in the B-Wing, and then Ahsoka Tano and Wedge Antilles are also pilots there, and they're both also in A-Wings. And really like the playstyle of the Phoenix L box. I love the fast A-Wings and the big heavy B-Wing bomber is sort of the main ship. When I think about playing this, like that's going to be my heavy hitter, and then the A-Wings are just going to kind of flit around. I'm really excited about playing this box.
Yeah, it should be very cool. There's some just basic inherent synergies in some of these pilots that were kind of designed that way. Brooks Flugar-Levitt was the developer on this one, and they came up with a lot of really kind of cool and thematic synergistic abilities with some of these pilots. So up first we've got Ahsoka Tano, where you have her on screen currently. Ahsoka's got a very useful ability that is going to keep her in the thick of things. Hold on 1 second. So she's very supportive of other surrounding ships. I think both Ahsoka and Hera Syndulla have kind of these synergistic support roles when you're sitting down and playing. So what Ahsoka can do is she can spend 2 of her force charges, and Jedi have a unique stat that other ships don't have, this force stat, and that is something they can use to modify dice rolls, also expend them to use their own individual pilot abilities. It's a very powerful and potent ability in the game because modifying your dice is a key concept in the success for you having successful attack and defense rolls.
And that is
on your opponent.
That's the purple number on the far right side of Ahsoka's card, since we're talking about new players.
Yeah, of course. So the stats that we have on there, the red number over on the far left side of the ship card is the attack value that they have. So that indicates how many dice they roll on an attack. The green number is their agility value, which is how many dice they roll on defense. The yellow number is the hull value, and that is how much damage they can take before they are destroyed. And then the blue number is similar to that. It's a shield value that can absorb both regular hits and critical hits, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it's just an added level of defense that they have associated with them. And then all of those icons that are over on the far right of the ship card are all the different actions that they can do over the course of their turn. And actions can be used to reposition the ships, move them around, or increase their chances of having successful dice rolls. And we'll talk about each of those kind of individually as we go through it. So next up, the next pilot I want to talk about is Hera Syndulla. If we could have that be brought up here real quick. There's a bit of a delay here on what I can see on my screen and what's actually up live at a certain single time. So Hera is she is in a B-Wing. B-Wing is a little bit more of a robust chassis as far as the ships go. It has a higher overall hull value. Doesn't have any, and also has a lot of shields associated with it as well, so it can take a lot of punishment. And Hera's role in this squad is largely to transfer some of her tokens. So she can kind of hang back a little bit. She has a high initiative value, so that means that she's going to be able to move and shoot with a lot of information as the game unfolds. But she can also utilize, if you have nearby friendly ships, she can transfer focus tokens or evade tokens or locks to those other ships. And a focus token essentially allows you to change any of the dice results that come up as an eyeball symbol. It just increases your overall chance of getting a hit or a success on both attack and defense. Evade tokens increases your chances of defenses and cancels out enemy attack rolls. And then locks allow you to re-roll your dice. So you can have a target lock on an enemy ship, and then you can expend that lock to re-roll any number of the attack dice involved in it. And sometimes the lock is actually necessary for you to do certain special attacks, things like missiles and other types of ordnance.
And one thing that's shown up on this card that I don't think we saw on the first one is on the right, on that bar of actions at the top, there's one that has a linked action. And what that means is that when you do the first one, you have an opportunity to do the second one if you want to, but you do gain a stress token, which it prohibits you from doing your hardest maneuvers. You can remove it by doing an easy maneuver later, but it just gives you a little more flexibility and a few more options of things that you can do with your ship.
Yeah, most definitely. Next up, we've got What else do we have here? Wedge Antilles. Let's talk about Wedge here real quick, and then we'll shift over and talk about the Imperial ships that we have on the table.
Looks like they're getting stuck in.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. They are definitely moving in there very close ranges. It looks like one of those interceptors might have bumped and run into the defender there. So when you are executing a maneuver in X-Wing and you run into an enemy ship or an asteroid, what often happens that is very detrimental is you lose your ability to take an action. And so that means you can't take those cool focus actions, target lock actions, barrel rolls, evades, all these different mechanics that you could potentially use to reposition and increase your chances of success when you run into friendly or enemy ships. So something to certainly keep an eye out for. Most definitely. And I guess one other thing to mention is that each one of these bases has on it a firing arc, and that indicates kind of like, usually it's a wedge shape, but it kind of depends on whether you have a turret or any other types of weaponry. But generally speaking, it is a wedge at the front of the base of the ship that indicates your ability to take a shot at an enemy. So if they're inside of that wedge, inside of this this V shape, you can take a shot at them if you're within range. But if they're outside of it, then you cannot. So that is a fundamental part of outmaneuvering your foe and trying to get shots on them when they can't get shots on you.
And different ships have different firing arcs and different upgrades that you can later add, can change them or give you new ones. It's a really upgradable game as you get deeper in it. That's really exciting about it too.
Yeah. So Wedge exemplifies that outmaneuvering quite a bit. Says he has an ability that when he performs a primary attack, if the defender is in your front arc, they roll one fewer defense die. So if he can maneuver himself, so he's outside of their arc, but they are inside of his, he gains a distinct advantage. Certainly very potent, very useful. It can be combined with other abilities that can further decrease the number of defense dice that your opponent rolls, increasing the chances of you getting through hits. I guess that's something that we should probably mention. So when you are sitting down to make an attack against an enemy, you roll a number of defense dice, and then they roll a corresponding number. I'm sorry, you roll a number of attack dice, and they roll a corresponding number of defense dice. And for every success they have on their defense dice, it will cancel out one of your hits.
That's right, and it cancels out your hits before your crits because there's a difference when damage is dealt. If you look at the attack dice, you're looking at your new set and you see the hit symbol, and there's one that's wide open in the middle. That one's a crit. The full white one is a hit, and you always cancel out the hits before the crits. So why don't we talk a little bit about some of the Imperial ships that are on the table there?
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's bring up Captain Dobbs. Start with that. He's in a TIE Defender. So one of the things about the Imperial ships here on the table, as opposed to the Rebel ships, is that most of the Imperial ships don't have shields, but the TIE Defender does. The TIE Defender is your beefy boy, right? So he's got 4 shields and 3 hull, and he has an ability. So while another friendly ship at range 0 to 1 defends before the neutralize result step, if you are in the attack arc and are not, I'm sorry, I'm reading the card off the screen as well, and it's a little bit blurred for me. And you are not ionized, you may gain 1 ion token to cancel 1 hit result. So it kind of lets you actually play the tank for your other weaker ships, which is great. So if you're staying close to them and flying in a close formation, which is a thing that I like to do because it's very fluffy and fun, then you can have a chance to kind of shut yourself down for a turn and protect your buddy from something that would have happened to them. And for me, that's useful because, you know, the TIE Defender is going to last a lot longer. So I think Captain Dobbs is pretty interesting. And then he is joined by 2 TIE Interceptors. And the way I like to think about the list that's kind of on the table here now is it's like 2 baby sharks learning to circle and swarm and Mama TIE Defender watching. So we've got Gideon Hask, and Gideon is pulling him up. So Gideon says that while you perform an attack against a damaged defender, you roll 1 additional attack die. And he also has auto thrusters because he is in a TIE Interceptor. And that is after you perform an action, you may perform a red barrel roll or a red boost action. So very maneuverable, lots of options to get around the table. And then when they're attacking something that's already been hit, so you took a pot shot with your defender or a shot 2 turns in a row, you just start putting extra dice in there, and you're going to end up taking things down really quickly with Gideon, I think. And then we have Sienna Ray, another TIE Interceptor, and her special rule is kind of interesting. After you perform an attack, if the defender was destroyed, you gain a stress token. But after a friendly ship at range 0 to 3 is destroyed, you remove a stress token. So, you know, I picture kind of flying her pretty hard, lots of maneuvers, lots of actions, and hoping to kill things and lose those stress. Excuse me, you would when you kill things, you gain stress tokens. So, fly her a little harder next to your other pilots so that when they get destroyed, you can remove that stress and be able to be more useful the next turn. And there are a few upgrades that are going to work well with that as well.
Yeah, definitely. There are, in fact, some upgrades that are in this squadron pack, in the Sky Strike Academy squadron pack, that paired very well with Sienna Ray in particular, and they're relatively inexpensive and good upgrades to add to your ships. So we're playing right now, without any upgrades in general. When you have a disparity in the points values between the two sides, the player with the fewer amount of points can then decide who's going to be the first player in the round. And what that means is because there are at times shared initiative values, they only go from 1 up to 6. Sometimes there is a step in there where both you and your opponent have an initiative 6 pilot or a 5 pilot that needs to act. So if you have fewer points, you can decide who gets to be the first player, which means that they will then act and move and then shoot first, which is it's something that some players actively plan for. A lot of times going second is more advantageous because you have more information. You can then make better maneuvers to hopefully get outside of the firing arcs of your opponent.
And it's also worth noting with that initiative number that when you perform your maneuvers, so there are different phases in this game. So there's the planning phase, there's the system phase, and then there's the activation phase. So the planning phase is where you lay out everything that you're going to do. You set your maneuver dials. And then when you get to the activation phase is when you actually perform maneuvers with your ships. And those maneuvers are going to take place in initiative order, starting with the lowest number. So, if you have a 3 or a 4, you're going to fly before a 5 or a 6. But when you get to the engagement phase and you're shooting, it goes the other way and you start with the highest initiative numbers. So there's that kind of counterplay and balance between those two phases. And I think that's an interesting part of the game, an interesting way that you can plan which pilots you want to take and how many of what, initiative value you need to have to do what you want to do.
Yeah, certainly. And I think another thing that bears mentioning here, something that may not be evident just looking at the cards, is that every card, every pilot that we have in the game, every upgrade that we have in the game has a points value associated with it. Now, those points values are not printed on the cards. We utilize an online squad builder and a points list that we host on our website to indicate what the points values are for the ships. And the reason that we did that is that it allows us a lot of granularity and a lot of room for adjustment to balance out the game. So if we find over time that something that was that we didn't anticipate being as powerful as it was turns out to be really kind of dominating what most players are playing and kind of limiting their overall options, well, we can make adjustments to those points values.
Yeah, and that's a really great thing, just being able to keep the game, in a place where people are enjoying playing it and there's nothing that is soul crushing to go against or anything like that because you're able to make those adjustments. That's great.
Yeah. It's certainly very enjoyable. So all the points values for these products are going to be going live next week. We do have the points values available to us, so we can talk a little bit about what certain things are going to cost for those players that are veteran X-Wing players. But I think that we wanted to spend a little bit of extra time here kind of talking about what kind of upgrades we might want to consider for some of these pilots, some of the other kind of key choices that you have within these squadron packs that just overall just increase your buildability, I suppose, if that's even the proper word, but just your options available to you to really kind of customize your squad to fit your play style and your tactics.
Yeah, and so everything that we're going to talk about here is available in either the Phoenix Cell box or the Star Strike Academy box, whether we're talking about Rebel or Imperial. So if you are looking to get into X-Wing and you think these ships look really cool, and you're going to have some ideas right out of this box that you can build into your first squad. So do we want to start bringing up some of those?
Yeah, let's do it. What do we want to start with?
Why don't we start with the Rebels?
Start with some Rebel stuff?
Yeah,
that sounds good. Cool. So let's start off with Hopeful. So Hopeful is a universal Rebel upgrade. It's something that any player can utilize, and what it really does is it rewards you for if you field named pilots. So and a named pilot is somebody with a proper noun for their name, obviously, and they have like a little dot at the very front of their name. And what that means is that you can only field one of those. You can only have one Darth Vader in your squad. You can only have one Luke Skywalker, etc. So what Hopeful will allow you to do is that after another friendly ship at range 0 to 3, and the range is determined by a range ruler that we have.
You can see it when they're making attacks.
Yeah, exactly. So it's usually about a foot or so is the range for 0 to 3. If that ship is limited, i.e., if it is a named ship, or if it has this also upgrade, you may perform a focus or boost action. And focus is the action that you can use to increase your chances that your die rolls are going to come up the way that you want to, both on offense and defense. And a boost action allows you to make an additional move to outmaneuver your opponent. So it can be very useful in something that your opponent doesn't necessarily plan for. After having one of your ships destroyed, all of a sudden you get an extra move or an extra defensive or offensive buff that can really kind of tip things in your favor.
And this is a card that I especially like for new players because it triggers off of something being destroyed. So if you're a new player and you're going into a group of people that have been playing for a very long time and you're nervous about them being better than you and blowing up all your ships, go ahead and bring some of these upgrades that are going to give you a little boost when that happens.
Mm-hmm. And this particular upgrade is really easy to fit into any list that you have. It only costs 1 point. So most standard lists are built out to 200 total points. A ship can average anywhere in between, I don't know, say 20 and all the way up to Vader, currently the most expensive pilot in the game. In the Defender, he's 115 points. So you have a lot of leeway there. So you can either go with lots of ships to try to overwhelm your opponent, or just play with very elite, highly skilled aces and try to outmaneuver them and hit them with potent abilities and attacks. Cool. On the flip side of this, there is an Imperial equivalent. So
yes.
And that is called Discipline. Talk about that one.
Yeah, so when I was looking through the upgrades in this pack, Discipline is one of the ones that jumped out to me right away. Like I said, when I was talking about the Star Strike Academy list, I think about, sharks learning to swarm and then Mama Shark. So I think about putting Disciplined actually on my TIE Defender in this list. Again, this one's very similar to Hopeful. After another friendly ship at range 0 to 3 is destroyed, if that ship is limited or has the Disciplined upgrade, you may perform a target lock or barrel roll action. So that gives you some offensive strength for your next attack, or it helps you get into better position to fire into them, maybe with your larger weapons, your cannons, your missiles, things like that, your ordnance.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think we could talk a little bit about that. So if you could bring up Mag Pulse warheads. So Mag Pulse warheads is it's a piece of ordnance that you can equip to your ships, anything that has a missile slot available to it. And we have equipped the 2 A-wings that we have in this list because the points values of the Defender, for example, are very high. It's a very robust and powerful ship. So in order to balance some things out, we gave them some upgrades here. So this is an upgrade that had been released previously, but we wanted to talk about it a little bit because it can fit in pretty well into some of the abilities that the Rebels have. So it says first attack, and then it has the target lock symbol. So what that means is that you have to have a lock on your opponent. And if we remember back to Hera Syndulla's ability, she can actually then send out locks to other ships. So if you have your ships that have your ordnance on it, in this case, that would be like the A-wings, Wedge Antilles, and who was the other pilot that we had?
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka Tano, obviously. Then they could, be using their actions to do other things, outmaneuver their opponent, etc. And then you could, pass on your lock token to them so they can then hit them up with a missile attack. So it has a yellow number there in the lower right-hand corner, and that's how many uses you get out of this card. So that's how many payloads of yeah, exactly. They're called charges, and it's the amount of times that you can use the Mag Pulse warheads against your opponent. So you make your attack, you spend one of your charges, and then you roll the number of attack dice indicated. So that's up in the upper right there. So that's 3 red dice here for the attack, and then the number underneath it is the range of that attack. So up to range 1 to 3, so pretty far ranged. So after that attack hits, they suffer a critical damage and then gains 1 deplete and 1 jam token. And the deplete token is it's a negative effect that will stay on that particular ship, which makes them so they roll 1 fewer attack dice on the next attack that they make.
Yeah, and that jam token, it basically cancels out a green token. So if you have, a focus, if you have an evade, and then you take a jam, you lose it. Or if you have a lock, you can lose your lock. And then if you don't have one of those things already, you hold on to that jam token, and the next time you get one, it cancels it out. So I really like jam tokens. I think they're really interesting, and I think they provide a lot of value because, even if you throw it on someone that doesn't have a green token or a lock yet, it's a little insurance.
Yeah, most definitely. Cool. So in general, there's a lot of different options available to you for Magpul for your own ordnance and missiles. There's different torpedoes and also missiles as well, and each one of them kind of have their own special advantages and special kind of utilization cases.
Yeah, and they really,
go ahead.
They just really let you tailor it to your play style, and I love that about this game. Right, the different weapons all do different things and have different abilities that synergize with the pilots. So half the fun is just laying all the cards out on your table and looking through them to see what's going to synergize well with what, and making your own new combos to bring to the table.
Yeah, most definitely. Oh, I had somebody asking here about the points on discipline. Let me just double check.
Oh, I can check that. It is 1 point.
Yeah, they're both very inexpensive and very, very useful, I think. And it's also, I think it's something that you probably want to take in multiples. I think, like it's if you really want to just make sure that you cover all your bases. Whenever one of your ships is destroyed, the other ones will benefit. It seems pretty good.
Especially if you're taking any of the non-named pilots, right? Yeah, like those would be great people to throw that onto.
Yeah, most definitely. Cool. So let's move on and let's talk about a Rebel specific card. This is one that's been released previously. It's called Starboard Slash. Mm-hmm. This is one that came out in the, I believe it was the Heralds of Hope expansion. It was originally designed for the RZ2 A-Wing, but it is not specific to just that version of an A-Wing. It's usable by any type, which is indicated in the lower left-hand corner, that A-Wing indicator. So what's cool about this particular card is that what it allows you to do is pass through enemy ships. So as long as you end your movement on the other side of them and you don't stop so you can't finish your movement, you'll blast through them. And if you do so, they gain a strain token. And what that does is it makes it so the next attack that goes against that ship that has a strain token, they're going to roll one fewer defense dice. So it's going to set up other ships that you have to shoot at them more effectively.
Yeah, now, I particularly like this in tandem with the B-Wing for that reason.
Yeah, most definitely. Very, very, very advantageous. And I think that this one in particular is also very, very useful alongside the vectored cannons upgrade, which also comes in the Phoenix Cell Squadron pack. Oh, those guys are getting riled up. It sounds like they're getting into the thick of things.
They're hollering. They're having a good time.
Yeah, damage is getting thrown out.
Oh, and A-Wing has gone down, but I don't know if it was Ahsoka. It was Ahsoka. Oh, no.
Oh, that is tragic.
Yes, it is. So, first blood to the Imperials.
Ooh, that's a pretty useful piece to lose right out the gate.
But it really is, but they can persevere. The Force is with them.
Yeah, most definitely. Could we bring up the vectored cannons upgrade real quick? That is a new upgrade that is included here in the Phoenix Cell Squadron pack, and it adds some new tactical options to your A-Wings. So this is a new configuration. So configurations are essentially like additional abilities that you can add to your standardized ships. And what standardized means is that if you take this upgrade on one A-Wing, you got to take it on all of your A-Wings. So that first little bit of text says that you gain a turret indicator. And what that means is that instead of firing out of that front arc that you have at the front of your ship, you can turn that turret indicator. It's kind of teardrop shaped. It has a point on it. And you can turn it either to the front or to the rear. So if you're using it, say, in conjunction with your Starboard Slash, you could move through an opponent, use your action, or maybe you set this up in a previous turn to rotate your turret indicator to the rear, and then you can shoot at them, and then they're going to have one fewer defense dice on the attack coming back. So if it's set up just right, it can be pretty potent and pretty useful.
And the A-Wings don't have a whole lot of attack dice right out of the gate, so using that Starboard Slash to get some extras is a really great tactic for them. And then this to make it easier so that you're not in their front arc and taking the negative yourself. They synergize really, really well.
Yeah, they're very, very useful. I had a couple people in the chat here asking about some points values. We might as well just talk about that.
Yeah.
So I think Ahsoka was high on the list. People want to know how many points Ahsoka is going to cost. Let's see.
Oh, okay.
Let me take a look here.
I have the Imperials pulled up.
Oh, I gotcha.
On my,
Ahsoka is 49 points. It looks like 49 points for Ahsoka in the A-Wing. And while we got them up, I might as well take a look at Sabine as well. Let's take a look. So Sabine is going to.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of people are curious about Sabine as well. Sabine. One moment. There she is, 37 points. Cool. Anyway.
All right. Well, since we just talked about vectored cannons, why don't we jump over to the Imperial side and I can talk a little bit about sensitive controls, which is another configuration upgrade, this time for TIE interceptors. So this is a configuration upgrade and is sensitive controls. This costs 2 points, and if you put it on any of your TIE interceptors, you have to put it on all of your TIE interceptors because it's a configuration. And it replaces the auto thruster ship ability with the following sensitive controls. During the system phase, you may perform a red barrel roll or a red boost action. Just gives you some more options for mobility. What's fun about it is that I really like configurations because they replace it across all of your ships. So you can't use this as a single tactic for a single pilot that you think it's going to work well with. This is an all or nothing. This is what my interceptors do. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. And it's really, again, all about playstyle. How do you want to use your ships? What are your tactics with your ships and what are they going to be doing? And what maneuvers are going to be most useful for them? And all just adds to that counterplay for your opponent, right? So if they're used to playing against TIE interceptors, but their normal players don't bring sensitive controls and you do, then it's a completely different game for them that time.
Yeah, most definitely. It's really interesting too, because the ability as you read it is kind of, it's pretty subtle. So it's like during the system phase, you may perform a red barrel roll or boost action, whereas the native ability on an interceptor allows you to kind of do it after the fact. But it can set you up in such a way where, like, if you're staring right down an asteroid at the very beginning and you just really want to barrel roll before you actually move, that can be pretty useful.
And also the interceptor has a lot of blue maneuvers, right? Like it does not have a lot of trouble maneuvering. It's a hard ship to fly, but it's good at handling, I guess, is the way that I would describe it. So in this case, you get to do that barrel roll or that boost. And then if you've already, if your maneuver dial is turned down on a blue maneuver, you're going to lose the stress from it. You'll be able to do another barrel roll or another boost perhaps. Or actually, you wouldn't be able to do the exact same one because you can't do the same one in the same round, but you could do a barrel roll first and then you could do your boost later, or you could get a target lock or a focus or whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, most definitely. I think kind of a similar type of upgrade that we might want to talk about. Maybe we should talk about passive sensors and how that functions, because that can also kind of change up a little bit of the order of operations and what you're doing.
And this isn't a new one, but it's a good one.
Yeah, it's been out for a little while, but it's one that I often look at when I'm trying to decide on what I want to try to use with my current builds and how I want to build out my ships.
Yeah, for sure. So passive sensors, and I'm just pulling this up where I can read it a little better, is action. You spend one. I'm sorry. Can you read the card, John?
Yeah, sure I can. So action, spend one charge. You can only perform this action during your perform action step. So that means after you've made a maneuver. So you've moved with your maneuver template, you revealed your dial, and now you're in that perform action step. So while your charge is inactive, you cannot be coordinated. And coordinated is another ability that allows other ships to then bestow actions onto you. We're not really covering that one in today's stream, but and then before you engage, if your charge is inactive, you may perform a calculate or a target lock action.
Thank you for reading that for me. I appreciate it. So this one's really interesting because it kind of lets you change the timing of when you're going to use your action. So after you perform your maneuver and you're ready to perform your action, if you want to have a target lock on something that maybe is going to move later, you want to kind of hold off on what it is you're going to do, you can use your passive sensors. And then if nothing shows up that you want to target lock, you can use that calculate and gain a calculate token, which is just another way to modify your dice and help yourself survive or attack stronger later.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty useful, and it just adds a little bit of extra level of flexibility, I think, into your game plan and when certain abilities are going to unfold in relation to others. And I think it's nice to have in your back pocket.
And I think it's specifically pressed well, like when you have ordnance or you have cannons, and you just want to be really careful about where you're throwing those locks out to, and you want to make sure that those specific attacks count because you spent extra points for those weapons. I think the passive sensors is just a great value buy for any ship to bring a little extra efficiency and reliability.
Yeah, Yeah, most definitely. So let's shift over and let's talk a little bit about a cannon upgrade, and that's going to dovetail nicely into the new TIE Defender Elite title. So let's talk
Yeah.
about auto blasters next. So this is something that has been released previously, but it's a cannon upgrade that can be taken by either the B-wing that we have, which is being flown by Harrison Dula, or in that TIE Defender.
Yeah. So auto blasters are, like you said, a cannon, and their attack is that if the defender is in your bullseye, which is a very small portion of your front of your ship, it's marked on the cardboard chit at the bottom of the base. So if the defender's in your bullseye, you roll an additional die, and during the neutralize results step, if you are not in the defender's front arc, their firing arc, then you evade results, do not cancel crit results. So this is really interesting. It's actually very similar to the second perk in fighter races from unconventional warfare that's going on right now. There's a little extra bonus if you can get the enemy into your bullseye and not be in their firing arc. You get some extra. So here it makes it so that they are less able to get away from your critical damage. And I don't think we've talked about how damage cards work yet. So there are shields and there are hull on ships. And so whenever you take damage, you either need to remove a shield or you lose a hull point. And when you lose a hull point, you have to take a damage card. And so if you take a damage card from a hit result, you're going to take that card face down and you place it next to the ship. And once you have as many damage cards as you have hull points, the ship is destroyed. But if you get a face up damage card, there's going to be an effect that you have to resolve on the other side of the card. And it's generally a negative. Sometimes it's neutral, but it's a negative. So you don't want those to be on you. So often, you're hoping that your evades are going to get through all the hits and the crits. So with this, if you can pull this off, then you can make it so that if you manage to roll any crits, those are definitely going through. And that's great.
Yeah, super useful. Really advantageous. So I think it's a good candidate, I think, to add to a TIE Defender when you're going to utilize the new TIE Defender Elite title. So let's bring that one up next. And this one is a pretty spicy one, I think, because it kind of breaks some general rules and allows you to attack twice under certain circumstances.
Yeah, and it's pretty cheap. It comes in at 2 points, and this is the TIE Defender Elite. So it decreases the difficulty of your turn maneuvers, but it increases the difficulty of your K-turn maneuvers, and you replace your full throttle with a new ability. So it changes the maneuverability of the Defender. It changes the way that it wants to play just because of the maneuvers that it's able to make as easily as possible. And then you gain advanced fire control, and this is where it gets spicy. So after you perform a cannon or an ordnance attack, if you have a lock on the defender, you may perform a bonus primary attack against the defender. So it gives you an opportunity, if you can set everything up so that you have the locks that you need and everything, then you get to shoot again. And multiple shots can be really deadly in this game. Things don't stay on the table long. Look at poor Ahsoka.
Yeah, a very unfortunate end to such a mighty hero. I did see in the chat there were some people that are asking about some points values. I'm gonna share a couple of those with you. Sienna Ree is 48 points for those that were curious about her. Gideon Hask also 48 points. Mm-hmm. Looking down here at some TIE Defenders. Captain Dobbs that we have on the table, he's 75. He's one of the 75. Probably the more cheap, I suppose.
He's the budget TIE Defender.
Yeah, he's a little less expensive. He doesn't have the high initiative, but I like Dobbs as an option in there just because he just has a defensive ability, which is rare, I find, for Imperial ships. It's like something to actually protect your other ships around you is something that is not very common in the faction.
I just think it's a really fun choice to make in the game too, specifically because of the way it works and ionizing yourself to save your buddy. Good times.
Yeah, the name of that ship is Captain Dobbs. He is the Initiative 3 pilot. And you can check out, if you guys want to, you can check out our social channels. We posted up all of these cards previously, either through our preview articles that we host on the Fantasy Flight website or through our social posts that we have put up this week and previously. There's Captain Dobbs right there. You can see what he does. Cool. So we are running out of time rapidly. We only have a couple minutes left. We just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about these ships, have some people play some X-Wing, new players that are unfamiliar with the game. We want to kind of talk about it in broad strokes. There are a ton of great tutorials, a lot of fantastic community there for you to engage and learn more about the game. These products are going to release next week on the 26th of March. So that is the Phoenix Cell Squadron Pack, the Skystrike Academy Squadron Pack, and also the Scum and Villainy Squadron Pack, which is called Fugitives and Collaborators. All these packs are great places to start your X-Wing journey and start off building out a faction. They're close to about 150, almost 200 points right out of the box. And then add an additional ship or some upgrades to taste and get to playing the game.
Yeah, the thing I really like about these expansions is they do have a really robust set of upgrades right in there. It's really easy to build a squadron and just start playing right out of this box.
Yeah, most definitely. Cool. So we have just about another minute or so left. A chance for you guys to ask for any other points values before we have to adjourn, and you'll have to wait until next week. Geez, only a few days, but some people, man, they just want to theory craft and think about stuff. Maybe they got a big game this weekend. They want to process it.
They are having a good time in there.
Okay, Harris and Dula. Let's do that one. So Harris and Dula in the B wing. We'll give you both.
Let me see if I can beat you to the B wing.
Oh, man,
55 points for Harris and Dula in the B wing.
All right. Well, what is she in the A wing then?
Oh, well, that we can race on.
Oh man, it's on again.
It's on.
Clicking through menus.
Why am I bad at this? I don't know. I'm pretty bad at it. There we go. 42 points in the A wing.
42.
Yes.
All right. And where we got old Wedge Antilles. I thought I had him up a second ago. Maybe I didn't.
35.
35. There you go. Man, you're fast at this.
I just have it on my screen because I couldn't read the cards before, so I had to make the shift.
We can't forget about a couple of these scum ships too. Let's get in some of these Hawk 290 pilots for those.
Don't want to leave the scum players out.
Well, so Tapusk is 36 points. Kanan Jarrus clocked in at 40. 40 for Kanan Jarrus. All right, so I think that's going to wrap up our time for right now. Thank you again so much for joining us. All the remaining points values, everything else is going to be posted here next week. Thanks again for joining us. We hope you had a little fun watching these guys push some stuff around the table, some new players, and you enjoyed a little bit of a breakdown and our general thoughts about some of these ships. We're all very excited about it. I'm trying to decide which one I want to use to start my new faction. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm picking up Phoenix Cell as soon as I can, and I think coming up next, we're going to have Dallas Kemp showing off some OSL. He showed that sweet Darth Vader last night, so I'm going to be tuning into that for sure. And everybody have a great day and enjoy the rest of MiniStravaganza.
All right, take care. We'll see you guys later.
Wow. All right, guys, that was kind of wild. That was not, I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that. How many of you guys are still with me? That was crazy. Look, I think I can imagine like what the pitch meeting for that was like. Why don't we have some guys talking about X-Wing to new people while we have other people kind of playing it in the background so you can kind of see it being played and hear announcers. It started off, you could hear it, like the mics were all up so you could hear like the other guys were talking while everybody else was talking, so that was bad. They eventually got that fixed. But it was also strange that they had people playing the game who had probably never played it before because they were making lots of mistakes. And to be fair, look, I understand making mistakes. I still make mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes. But my first game that I ever watched was Will Wheaton playing on his show Tabletop, and that's one of the things that inspired me to make my own YouTube channel and talk about these games. But like I go back and watch that now, and like so many mistakes. It's like, oh my gosh. But it didn't matter because they were having fun. So like I try not to get bent out of shape about people making mistakes on a stream or whatever. I get that, but these are the developers, so you kind of like expect that. Now granted, they did say that these guys had just learned the game or whatever. So like I understand that. But yeah, that was. I guess at a time right now when we're like, I don't know if they have an X-Wing developer. I don't know if like Plummer is now working on X-Wing. He seems like he knew a little bit about X-Wing though. There were still like a lot of like little things that were either misspoken or they were just incorrect about it. Like he said, all configurations, like when you run a configuration on a ship, you have to run all of your ships with that same configuration, and that's not true. That's what standardized means, that's not what configuration means, you know. And other like little missteps like that. Now, granted, the configuration he was talking about was standardized, so like it might have just been, you know, he's got a lot of stuff in his mind, he's got a lot going on, and he just, you know, misspoke. Happens to me all the time. I make daily videos, I misspeak a ton. So I don't know if he's just, you know, not as up on the rules, or if it was just a misspeaking. But it's not reassuring, right? When, you know, they just let go all of the X-Wing devs, and now here's people talking about the game, making all kinds of mistakes, and then they have people playing the game that are rolling green dice to attack. You know, like they were rolling. Granted, I don't know if they were rolling the green dice to attack or if they were just rolling defense dice first, but you can't do that, because if you roll all evades, why am I going to spend my focus on attack? Like, that's not the way the game works, you know. So like there's fundamental reasons why you don't do that. It's not just because it says it in the rule books, it's because the attacker has to decide how to modify dice before he knows what the defender's dice are going to be. And so all of that kind of stuff, you know. So you said, Joseph says, you said they mentioned not even having people developing the game now. They didn't say that, but they didn't say that they did have anybody developing the game now. Like, I asked in chat again right now, like, who is working on development? They had said earlier on that you were going to meet the developers, and so I was like, oh, all right, we're going to meet the new team. But they brought in like people that we already knew. Like, I mean, Luke Eddy was there for the Armada and X-Wing stream, and like he's Legion, right? Like, I mean, he's familiar with all of these games. You know, I don't think that he, you know, I'm sure Luke Eddy has played X-Wing and or Armada, perhaps at some point, but he works Legion. You know, that's and Legion had 2 developers. You know, they had Luke and Alex Davey, plus everybody else that may have worked on it behind the scenes. But like they had 2 main developers, and now they're just down to 1. So Luke's got a full plate on him right now. So I don't expect Luke Eddy to also be designing and developing, you know, expansions for X-Wing and Armada. So they also had Plummer on the X-Wing and Armada panel. He seemed like he's somebody who plays X-Wing. He seems like he's got an interest in the things that are happening in X-Wing. He knows a little bit. You know, he's like, oh, I was really excited to see Vader in a TIE Defender, and I'm like, okay, I would expect an X-Wing player to say that, because Vader in a TIE Defender is exciting. So I'm pretty sure that Plummer plays X-Wing, but I don't know if he's working on X-Wing, because he was, I believe he was on the team for Marvel Crisis Protocol. So, because he was, you know, from what I understand, he was one of the people that came over to found AMG with, you know, with everybody else from Privateer Press. So, and they didn't say that Plummer was an X-Wing developer. They just said he was a developer at Atomic Mass Games. So, like, they usually when they introduce people, you're like, okay, so who are you and what do you do? And he didn't, you know. So, like, I don't know if like Plummer's like a developer in training for X-Wing. Like, hey, you know, I know you were working on this other stuff, but here we need you to start developing new content for this game. But I sure hope it wasn't the 2 guys that were playing. Like, hey, you guys are going to be new X-Wing developers. Start playing and start learning the game. You know, I feel bad that we don't have, you know, Brooks Fluger-Levitt or Frank Brooks or Max Brook. Everybody, if your name has the word Brook in it, Brook or Brooks in it, you are probably working on X-Wing and probably doing a heck of a job. And you know, so it's like big shoes to fill. You know, and so this stream was just kind of all over the place. They didn't really spoil any new cards. They did give us point values though. So we got Ahsoka at 49 points, Sabine at 37 points, Ciena Ree at 48 points, Gideon Hask at 48 points, Captain Dobbs at 75 points, Hera in a B-Wing at 55 points, Hera in an A-Wing at 42 points, Wedge in an A-Wing at 35 points, Tapusk at 36 points, and Kanan Jarrus in his Hawk 290 at 40 points. And I think the new generic upgrades per faction, I think, are just 1 point each. The new, like, Hope and all of that stuff. So they gave one of them, and I imagine that since they're all very similar, they're probably going to be 1 point each for all of those. I mean, heck, you have to lose a ship for them to trigger, so they shouldn't be that expensive. So they should have some of them on as consultants. Oh, absolutely. You know, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know. It's an uncertain time for the future. That much is clear. You know, and I think you know, bringing somebody new on, they may try to stay. You know, if they do, just bring in new people to start, you know, taking over development of these new games. I would imagine like the next wave to be very boring, like very like, hey, let's not do any new keywords for this next wave. Just try and make something that's more of the same. You know, you're doing a better job of recapping this live and on the fly than the new game owners did with all the insider info. Well, I have been making videos for a very long time. These people don't do it as much or have the history of doing it as much as I do. So I thank you for that. Yeah, they're newer to doing all this kind of stuff, and they're also new. I still don't think that all the folks at AMG had a whole lot of heads up time for this huge type of announcement, this huge thing that's going on. Also, and by the way, as far as I know, AMG still has a game number 2 in development. So some of these folks may also be working on a whole nother game that has yet to be announced. Might be announced around Gen Con time, might not be announced until next year. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But that's about it. I'm going to wrap this stream up right now. Be sure to check out my Discord server. Links are in the description below. There's lots of giveaways that are running until tomorrow, so you still have time to go in there. You just have to react in the giveaways channel to an emoji. I will be announcing winners in that channel, and I will tag whoever wins so you cannot miss it. Unlike some of my other giveaways, which I will announce at the end of videos, and then you have to watch all the way through. The Discord giveaways are like super, super easy to win because you just have to go in there and click it, and then you will get a Discord notification if I tag you and you won. So you don't want to mute my server either. Now I think we have everyone's and stuff like that disabled, so people can't troll you and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. Also check out Luxury Playstyle too, and get yourself some awesome tokens. Get yourself a Crabbok lightsaber nunchuck token for any order $35 or more. You get that by using my code CrabbokVIP, which by the way also saves you 15%. I don't know why I'm making a fist. You don't have to mash the keyboard, you just type the commands. All right, anyway. But yeah, so yeah, I'll be doing a follow-up video for all the X-Wing stuff too. You know, it's there isn't that much. There wasn't that much new stuff spoiled, so I could probably fit it all into one video. This is the coolest thing that came out of this whole weekend for X-Wing as far as I'm concerned, because this was the most unexpected and also seems like it's really... And it's got movable pieces too. While I think a lot of people would say that this is the coolest thing, Razor Crest is coming. I think we all expected the Razor Crest, and this is also the farthest out. This is... They made it sound like they haven't even started on the expansion development yet for this. It's just the art. So it's going to be probably 2 years before we see this. That's just a guess on my part. All they really said was it's a long way from coming out, so don't expect this anytime soon. To me, that translates to 2 years. We'll see. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's an overestimation. Maybe that's an underestimation. We will have to see. But these things are coming out, I think, next week. So we'll have to see if they spoiled everything from here, or if there's other things that have not yet been spoiled. All right, guys, I want to thank you all. Be sure to check out the links in the description below. Check me out on social medias. Check out the merch store. Get yourself some cool masks. You know, we got all the gator necks, the face masks, the shirts. We got socks. We got faction, like iPhone covers and Android phone covers and all kinds of cool stuff like that. If you want to support the channel, there's links for the Teespring store in the description below. It's got a lot of stuff beyond just t-shirts, and of course Discord, and it is down there for social media is down there, and so is Patreon. Big thanks to my patrons for supporting the channel. Thank you guys so much. I couldn't do this without your continued support. I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.